Hi, it's Irene's world. It is what it is, and I wonder what it's like in your world. But in my world, it's a new dawn, a new day, a new thinking every day. This is my world where I choose to enjoy the truths that I have come into, the power of living in now, and be able to transform. Well, Irene's world is all about sharing what's going on in her world, the mind shifts that are taking place as I advance in this journey of knowing myself and becoming who I was purposed to be. And so today I'll be focusing on two areas which people have been struggling with since the lockdown and easing out and the coming of the pandemic, especially here in Uganda, and that is worship, or should I call it faith, or should I call it belief, or should I call it religion, and education. Two very important pillars that shape the minds of humanity to determine what kind of human resource will be existing in whatever generation of your lifetime. Now, why am I going to those two areas? Because those are two areas I have really experienced in. I'm a qualified teacher, and I have since evolved in the way how I have perceived education should be be given out. I have since also changed the way I believe how I relate to the creator, God, life force, whatever you're calling it right now. So what am I saying? Life is a journey. You got to be ready to learn something new every day, because you start from the unconscious state, becoming a bit conscious, go to the primary level, elementary, secondary, until you mature and awaken to the full God being you're supposed to be here and purposely live this life to the fullness, not only to yourself but to others. Now, I'll look at first faith, belief, worship. This pandemic was enough to silence the whole of humanity to say, keep quiet and know who you are. Who is God? How have you known God? Where is He and how do you relate with Him? I have since transpired from where there was an angry God of the Old Testament who had given commandments. If you fall short of them, you will forever be punished, to the God who came in the flesh to save and show us the way and will come back to save a few, and those who will never have confessed the word before a human being in a church, in a pulpit, will burn forever in eternity. I've since unshackled that belief. It was part of the progress to becoming to that point where I now know that whatever is going to pan out in my world of reality, what we call this world, I am the causer of the effect. I am that I am. The God I have been seeking without is not an external God, but the very life that is speaking right now in me, that's animating, is it. And so, how do I become aware of this God? Now, depending which way we have been raised, tradition, family, society, education are going to shape for you who that life force I am God is to you. We have institutionalized this inner world, which is the world of truth, which is the eternal life, and decided to school it, hence trim it of its potential and ability to be active right here, right now. But I believe there's a generation that is rising that will actually express the 21st century man, male or female, and the future man to be. Because time and immemorial, the infinite mind, life force, God, energy has been expanding in consciousness awareness in the human flesh. What your grandfathers knew, we now know more. They set a foundation, and were there those who were aware of all this truth? They were, but just never got the platforms that they needed, because there's always the general mass hive hard thinking that drives society, and we tend to think the one that is driven by the external is the true one, whereas there's the internal one which is forever existing. So, if you're listening to me right now and you think because I'm referring to the words of life in scripture and you think I'm a preacher, then you're not in my frequency. Because what I'm talking about here is renewing of the mind. Be ye transformed. You're here to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Before the lockdown, if your God you were serving was an external God, and it still is, then there has been no shift in your life. You're still going to chase the eternal God external from you, and hence you decrease the power of who you are, because you shall have whatsoever you'll believe. Or you've been sitting in a pew for years and gathering and giving tithes and serving in the choir, and now you realize that which you were seeking in a place with other people is in you. And so you're awakening to this power so that you may show others around you about this revelation so that they too may awaken. Now, the problem we normally have is some people awaken, and then when they know about it, they will not help others awaken. Instead, they let them gather around them and make them to be small gods. Yet ye are all gods. Basically, full-fitting. And it works for a time. But there comes a time when you've got to wake up. There comes a time when you've got to realize this power and authority that you tend to say in head knowledge, I am that I am. But if you are the I am, then why are you seeking I am outside? First present participle means it is you and nothing else. And so you should be now taking this time to unlearn. And let me tell you something, it's gonna scare you. And it's going to shock you, and it's going to offend that belief you've held on too long. And then when the day you let go, you realize there's actually a universal flow that you simply flow with. Life sees as being a hustle and labels and whatever society has put on you. You just know that you are the I am, and you cause whatever happens in your world of reality and of others. And once you come to that realization and consciousness awareness, you can't help but be love, light, pure. Everything you do from the highest point of existence, which is loving God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. You simply become aware that you are God. And then be God to yourself and be God to another. Now, that's a bit hard for some to swallow who have stuck into old traditions which were part of the journey. You needed to be deceived before you were woken up. How can you be resurrected until you are dead in the consciousness awareness that you are the I am? Hence the resurrection, hence the ascending, which is not physical, but is the awakening and enlightening of your understanding, where you become consciously aware that I am that. Sila. Yeah. So, that's why I call it Irene's World, because I choose to speak my truth so that I live in that which I know now is true to me. And there are many others who have since come into this enlightenment. And for you who's still on the journey, take this time to ask yourself the questions that the universe forced all of humanity into. Be still and become aware, If you refuse to let go of an old thinking, you're repeating the same cycle, you're repeating the class until you really get tired of it and you let go of the blankie which covered you as a child, where you spoke like a child, and you're ready to step out and be mature, because faith requires you to go into the unseen that has never been. And a new normal cannot come in your life if you're believing and whatever you've believed to define you, and normally it's religion and education, then family traditions, then you're just going to repeat an old cycle and believe that this shift that happened came to destroy. No, it came to dismantle an old system that cannot help advance the mind of Christ, the mind of the infinite love, light, life force, God, whatever you're calling it right now, because ever, behold, he's doing a new thing. And, creation unfinished in foundation, we're just waking up into those states that have always existed. And the highest is where you know that you call the shots. You are God. Let that sink. You are God. Now, can you confidently say, I and my Father are one? And I'm talking about the Father of lights, because there is the Father of lies. Yes, the father of lies is simply when you relegate your true essence, your true being, to discharge in a negative way, where misunderstood how you and God relate, or who God is, and how this power flows through you. And hence that's why they say, awake, O sleeper. Resist the devil and he will flee. How do you resist? Negative thoughts, hate, strife, competition, anger, division in your mind, where you think the other being is separate from you and you're not one. You got to come to that realization that that is you just being manifested in a different vessel. We are all one, and we're all expressions of the one life force, God, light, energy, spirit, omni, whatever you're calling it right now. And so, during this time where what has been taken away from normal, especially like, for instance, education, because educare is actually supposed to be drawing out already latent potential, but the way education has been structured over decades, instead it has stifled the divine life and the divine principle that only needs to be watered with understanding. And hence we are churning out human resource that is only skilled for a specific labor, cannot imagine, cannot create, cannot innovate, and hence we go to school already having in mind unemployment shall be if you do not score such skills. If you do not study sciences, then everything in this realm of material is a science. And each one of us has a purpose and a place where we belong, where we can cause that science to flow and not only give us passion, pleasure, wealth, good relationships, but the full manifestation of the divine life that you are, God, in that vessel that's been called John, Peter, Irene, Jack, color, I don't care, purple, pink, brown, yellow, bleached. It's all a manifestation of the life force. So forgive me if I'm rattling on a bit too long, but it does bother me when you can't just stop and be silent and ask yourself, this pandemic came and froze the whole world. For what reason? You're not going to find the answers outside from leaders. You're not going to find the answers from anybody else, but from the life force that's available in everyone. And those who have hooked onto the frequency of where the truth is flowing, well, I already know a shift has happened. And let me tell you something, when an old is going, there will be dismantling, there will be discomfort. Those are the necessary. But if you latch on to that which is new, you soon find yourself swinging even farther than you expected to go. And so my question today is, sit down and ask yourself, especially in these two areas, how has religion shaped me to believe who I am, where God is, and how I relate with Him? How has education defined me as whether I will be wealthy, successful, and make it? Then look at the family traditions where they told you, if you don't do this, you'll never marry. All those are imaginal myths that are limiting the potential of who you are. You are the I am, where everything that flows from you is good. And whatever you choose to have is yours. If you choose to be single, that is also okay. And if you raise a child on your own, don't label yourself as a single parent, because already when you use the label single, it means I'm hustling, I was rejected, and so I have to struggle to raise these children. Whereas all you can say is that I am a wonderful parent. Period. If the other spouse in the relationship is not there and you believe that you're the I am and a wonderful parent, and you first of all have the I am-inness, you will not struggle to raise those children. Remove that label that says single parent, single mother. It already places you in a place where you think you're going to hustle to raise your kids and then wait for their wedding day to tell us about how you hustled and how life was tough. Why? Because that label already comes with the word hustling, struggling, rejected. I made it. See where I am. It still has that little revenge of why they walked away from you. You are wonderful. Coupled or not, you are wonderful. The fact that you brought forth that child, hey, that makes you incredible. So, think about all those areas, but most especially, what have you believed this far? Who is God? Where is He? How do you relate to Him? Is He external? Then you're on your way. Is He someone who's going to save you? You're still on your way. Or have you become aware that you're the I am? Well, then awaken that so that we may cause a change in the masses. Because when you operate from that level, it can only be good, peace, and love around us. And then for education, how has it shaped you? If you don't get a high score, you're not going to get a good job. If you don't score in sciences, you'll never have it. Already the schooling system has put in our subconscious failure and unemployment. Why? We have killed intuition, we have killed psyche, we have killed imagination, we have killed the invisible 12 faculties that are supposed to be awakened so that they can be able to be skilled into the 12 faculties and skills of the 21st century. The 12 disciples, by the way, are not human beings. They're the 12 faculties in the mind of a human being that are supposed to be discipled by the divine life in you called the Christ. And Christ is not a human being. He is the power and wisdom of God. That is the life force, the light in you, the energy that is animating you right now. But when you become aware of it, because it's intelligent wisdom, it is intelligent life force. When you become aware of it, it starts calling to itself the 12 faculties in your mind, starting with Simon Peter, the one who only hears that which is true and honorable. Where is it coming from? The media within that knows all things. And so when someone comes to you with a rumor and gossip, you choose to falsify the report so that you do not solidify that gossip. And that's how you forgive another from falling into that state. So you say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Forgiveness means totally forget it never existed, strike it off, it was never brought to the court, it was never charged on somebody's charge sheet. As simple as that. Now you've got to practice that intuition life, you've got to practice imagination, but guess what happens? Our education system immediately starts forcing facts on you and tell you if you don't follow the box, then you won't make it. And so you raise in a mindset that believes there will be unemployment unless I score a high grade, and then you're forced to cheat and all that. So those are things I will be talking in my podcast that I'm going to launch soon on Irene's Chat Show. I thought I would share my journey of my mind transformation and my mind shift and my current experiences. Maybe someone is also experiencing the same. And if you resonate, well and good. If you don't, it's okay too. Whatever you're holding on to right now is your belief. But I just want to say this. There's a higher way of thinking. There's a higher way of living. There's a higher way of believing. And it only comes when you unshackle all those traditions they've taught you about religion, all those traditions we've been pumped in through education, because educare simply means draw out the latent potential. It doesn't mean school them with facts which will soon become absolute, and if they think outside of the box, then they are failures. That's limiting the divine life in everybody. And I'm not saying education is bad. I'm just saying it's about time it shifted to the higher gear where we have a lot of the divine driving the human resource that we are schooling. And then we shall have the right things coming up at the right time. We'll have a human resource that is sure of the future, because it starts living it now while they're in the schooling life, while they're at home, experiencing a religion that is not tradition, but the truth that they are, the I amness and the consciousness awareness that is in a family expands generations of an awakened human resource, awakened young and youth, and hence we help the outflow and outpouring of His Spirit. So I wonder what it's like in your world today, but I'm hoping you've made a mental shift, because when there's no mental shift, which means simply what you have been believing, then you cannot have a new doing and a new life, because everything that is in this realm of objectivity starts from the realm of thought. Deep thinking, deep conviction, deep believing, and leads to action, hence manifestation. That's how life rolls. You live by the unseen, you believe in the unseen, and that unseen, whatever it is, good or bad, will become real in your world. But there is a higher version, and it's called all good, I am that I am. Well, enjoy your weekend, and I'm hoping you're doing some uprooting, tearing down, letting go, killing off. You've got to kill that Jesus they taught you in Sunday school. I know it sounds a bit shocking, and you're going to say blasphemy. No, it's not. And let me tell you one thing, until you let him go, what you're seeking is going to keep evading you. Well, enjoy your journey of transformation. Irene's World is all about sharing my experiences, and I'm not telling you you're wrong or right. I'm simply telling you what's in my world, and the way I sing, it is what it is, and it's good.